Is that weight off it? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Hey guys, and welcome back. We're back here at Bayswater Auto Care. The patrol is back on the hoist, and this time for a much more fun reason than last time. You guessed it, we're putting in a lift. Alright, so this is the lift kit. Nathan at Treadworks in Lilydale hooked us up with this. It's a Formula 4x4 2-inch kit, 50 kilo front springs, 100 to 300 rears, so it should accommodate for the LPG tank and any extra weight I'm going to throw in the back. There's big bore shocks, which we'll get into later. They are about as big as you can fit in the towers on these. We've got caster offset front bushers to correct the 2-inch lift in the front, which again we'll get into a bit later, and a set of new radius arm bushers, just because I've got to take the arms out anyway, may as well replace them while I'm there. So for tyres, I've gone with these Windforce CatchFors A T2s. They're an aggressive all-terrain, seem like a really good deep tread for an all-terrain. I don't want to go full on muddy, just for the noise on the road and traction in the wet. I'm keen to see how these go. I know Liam runs all-terrains on his GQ. I think they should be pretty mint. These are a set of Pro Comp rims that Nathan at Treadworks hooked me up with. He also fitted the tyres up for us, so yeah, keen to see how they go. Alright, so you might be thinking, why are they at James's shop when they could be doing this on the floor? Well, for two reasons. A, James is nice enough to help me out. And B, I'm tired of rolling around on the floor. Also, we are taking out the radius arms to put the caster correction bushers in, which is very hard to do on the ground because you have to hold the diff, which we'll explain later. But yeah, so we're going to start at the front of the car. We're going to drop the shocks, the springs out, obviously all getting replaced. Pull these radius arms out. We're going to run them up the road to get the new bushers pushed in. And yeah, it should be good. So let's get into it.
The car is coming off.
Yeah. These are, yeah, terrible.
As demonstrated, I'll put in the clip.
Yeah, put in the clip. Throw in the clip of me trying to drive up a small hill.
Come on, Dad, power out. I'm not powering out. You need new tires. They look like slicks.
I know, they're terrible. I wasn't even intending to need four-wheel drive. There's a comparison for you. Terrible. Look at that.
Yeah, just a bit smaller. just a bit.
So, first step is to drop the sway bar and the tie rod, as they're in the way of the radius arms.
Tie rod, drag link.
That's the drag link.
No, relay rod.
That's the
Drag link,
yeah.
relay rod.
It's tie rod.
Relay rod.
Relay rod. I'm pretty sure it is relay rod.
Why?
I don't know. When I remember when I did mine, it was called a relay rod.
It's a tie
Relay
rod.
rod.
Why is that not a tie rod?
The tie rods are at the end of it.
No, that's a tie rod end.
It's a relay
What's the relay rod? What's the relay rod then?
A relay rod, no. A relay rod is when you have an independent front end with a steering box, right? The relay rod is the bit in the middle, and the two tie rods are the bit at either end. That is a tie rod.
No.
Google it. The internet will tell us.
Ring,
Alan.
yeah. Ring Alan.
I'll be on the phone for an hour.
We have a debate.
I mean, I have been wrong once before when I was 6, but I could be wrong again, you never know.
Wow.
Google it. In the meantime, we'll do something productive. Well, it'll probably come up because all the people like you that misinterpret it would have, you know, this is a great debate. Patrick, I can't believe you're on his side, just like that.
I know I called it a relay rod in my videos.
Oh, so now you're sticking to it, I see.
There it is. Well, you know, because he called it a relay rod in one of his videos and no one picked up on it. I reckon it's a relay rod.
They excuse Patrick from, you know, saying the wrong word. It's alright.
Well, I put it on the video. Relay rod, tie rod.
Yeah.
Answer us, the internet will decide. You know what I mean when I say the independent front end? Like if you look at a D22 or my Navara.
Yeah, it's got that.
It's got a steering box, but that bit in the middle is a relay rod.
No,
That's a tie rod.
no.
Just guys, here, work with me. If this is a tie rod end, right, and that's a tie rod end, what's the bit in the middle?
Relay rod.
Both ends are a tie rod end.
No, relay rod.
Okay, alright.
Whenever I ring Terrain Tamer and order, I don't go, I need a tie rod. I say, I need a relay rod. I should ring up Terrain Tamer now.
I see what it is. It's a Toyota thing, isn't it? He said relay rod, you're saying relay rod. Terrain Tamer's all Toyota, they're selling relay rods. Ah. they're tail patrol parts, but they're started with Toyotas. Remember, we must save the tie rod end.
On the relay rod.
Yep. Look at that. That just hovers there. What do you reckon? Let it hover?
And then one day I'm pretty sure I was doing one on a Land Cruiser and swung around and hit me in the head. By the relay rod.
By the end of the day, I'm gonna make him screw up and accidentally call it a tie rod by the end of the day, just so I can say I was right.
Relay rod. Relays the...
No, it ties the wheels together. Anyway, I'm sure the thousands of experts on the line will tell us.
On the line.
Okay?
On the line.
On the line.
On the line. On the interweb.
On the interwebs, on the Facebooker, and the Instabook.
Should this pan be leaking on the transmission?
Don't you dare. I looked at that when the hoist went up. I was like, it's not leaking. The internet doesn't know about that, alright? Don't tell them. They're on a need-to-know basis. Being a GQ, this is that thing that we take out and don't put back in. Isn't that the idea? The guy on the forum said I don't need it.
You're not a P-plater, but you are a patrol owner.
I missed my chance. Oh, I am a patrol owner. So, Monster Energy hat, take sway bar out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The elusive GQ Patrol front sway bar.
Yeah, this is a rare thing.
No one's ever seen one before in the wild. This car, so far, I will say that, for a patrol, it's been relatively nice to work
Normally
on.
they bolt from hanging off it with a giant ass.
Well, I think because, unlike most patrols, it hasn't spent every weekend of its life in a hole full of mud.
It's so bad.
I'm keeping it, alright? I'm not taking the sway bars out. How many
But
times?
if someone's restoring a GQ Patrol, they need that.
Yeah, but what happens if I want to restore a GQ Patrol? Like this one, like not destroy it. You said it yourself, I'm not a P-plater. Look at that. See? Look at this. Look at this. This is what keeps the wheels on the ground, alright? And the roof facing up. Take notes. Oh yeah,
Chopstick.
that was so much easier than I imagined it to be. Especially because I imagined it being on the floor.
Snaps off. That
On Land Cruisers.
Land Cruisers and
This.
Patrols.
See the badge on the front? Far superior. Nice.
So why are we putting correction bushes in there, Dad?
Ah, okay. So, I can do it with the arm rather than trying to explain it with hand gestures. That's how the arm roughly sits in the car, right? Diff is here. Now, say that's your standard ride height, right? You're putting a 2-inch lift in it, so you're doing that, right? Now, being that the diff is bolted here, it changes the angle of the diff, or the caster angle. Now what that upsets is A, the driveline angle, not that that's such a massive difference, that's in the uni, going into the diff. More so it affects your steering geometry. So you're upsetting the caster, which is what makes the steering want to come back to center when you're driving down the road. So if you've ever driven a car with a crazy lift in it, or something that's been done by a bunch of rednecks, like for example the Hilux, you drive down the road and it sort of wants to, they call it tram tracking, it'll try and grab any rut that it can, more so on the highway than in the bush. It won't want to stay central. Whereas the idea of putting these bushes in from the start is that the steering always wants to drop back to the centre. The kit comes with the caster correction bushes, but I opted to also add on the radius arm bushes because I figured I'm pulling them out anyway. It's done like nearly 400,000 Ks.
Keep in mind with you using that, if you've already got a 2 or 3 inch lift and they haven't done the cast correction, chances are that will snap off.
Just putting more load.
It'll hit on there and then...
Yeah, even caster correction bushes, they're sort of a way, ideally, you'd
other
put
option is
new
drop
arms in,
boxes.
or drop boxes. See, people do drop boxes or replacement
People
arms.
with money have...
Well, drop boxes you get hung up on again, whereas
Yeah, well they just go here and then you would have to modify your rock slider.
the difference is,
They bolt into there and then into there.
yeah, and drop pick up
Or you get the superior...
Hyperflex arms.
Yeah, so they keep the factory bushes. Because when you go a radius correction, you're getting less bush in here.
Yeah.
So you're going to
So
flog it out quicker.
it's not ideal.
No.
But the
It's a
difference
quick
is
fix on a cheaper budget.
the difference is about $2,000 between this lift kit and a lift kit with,
And the superior
Correction arms.
radius control arms are bloody heavy. Heavier than that.
and they're shiny, which means you get defected for them. Because everyone knows if something is shiny under a car, it's illegal. So we're just going to head up the road to get the guys to press these new caster correction bushes in. Now the idea with these is that, as we spoke about before, you're putting your diff angle back to where it should be. So as you can see, that's offset from center. There's actually nothing wrong with these, or to look at anyway. They're not particularly worn, but yeah, just to correct them for the lift. So press those in. They come with a template to show you where to put them. There's two in here. One's for some sort of less superior vehicle, I don't know, something. And then here we are, GQ and GU Patrol. Yeah, better. That's your template for your radius arm.
Yeah.
It shows you where to set the holes in the bushes.
Yeah, we'll be back.
So we're back, we got the new bushes pressed into the radius arms, which as you can see they're offset. Should give us about 3 degrees of caster. Now we're gonna unbolt these shocks while we got the radius arms out, which will give us enough room to drop the diff a little bit more. We're still not putting any pressure on the brake line, so we're not gonna stretch that. That's one thing to watch if you are doing this. Don't stretch your brake line or your diff breather. If you've got a more modern car, ABS lines as well. Then we're gonna drop it on the gearbox jack a bit so we can pull the front spring out without having to compress it and bang the new springs and chocks in. There we go. That saves us using spring compressors. So spring rate and what springs have I chosen? So I've gone with a 2-inch lift or 50mm, and they are 50 to 100 kilo front springs, so I want to account for, it's only an alloy bar at the moment, but in the future I may be putting a steel bar and a winch on the front of it, and 100 to 300 kilo rears. It's got a 125 litre gas tank in the back of the car and 75 petrol under the bottom, as well as a fridge, drawers. None of that's in there yet, but it will be going in at some point, so I want to sort of future-proof it and have it not be sagged in the back when I'm loading the car up. Yeah, so these are the springs I've gone with. As you can see, they're shiny and new. Yeah, make sure you note when you go to put these in, they are marked right hand and left hand.
Hey,
oh yeah,
look at that.
That's the stuff. Nice. I didn't even have to put on my flak jacket to use a spring compressor or stand behind a riot shield or any of that. Alright, I'll pull that shock out while I'm there and put the newie in, yeah?
You want something to stand on?
Yeah, come here. Does anyone want these 2-inch lifted old man EMU shocks? They were second hand when they got put in the car like 10 years ago. I found an invoice. How have they held up? Let's find out. Okay. Actually, pretty damn good. Except GQ short wheelbase left hand front. And that is not a short wheelbase. Nor is it the left hand, but it is the front. So most of the reason I chose this lift kit is that Nathan at Treadworks runs this in his GQ, and that thing's got 35s and a 2-inch lift. So it gets used very well for what he built it for, and he recommended this kit. So I'm running the same suspension setup as what's in his. Obviously he uses it and he knows suspensions, so yeah, that's what he recommended, so that's what I'm running with. So this is a Formula 4x4 big bore 2-inch lift shock. So it's a much bigger tube than the factory ones. Those old man EMU ones I just pulled out were already bigger than factory, so I can't really compare it next to a factory one, but yeah, these are hefty. That's got a lot of resistance. A lot more resistance on rebound than compression, which is good for jumping sand dunes, I hear. I like to cycle shocks a couple of times before I put them in the car. You don't have to. Runs the oil through all the valves. This one's got GUU right hand front leaf cab. So that one had short wheelbase left hand, which is on the right hand of a long wheelbase. This one's got leaf cab ute right front and it's on the left. I mean, they're the same colour, so like, you know, it's just funny that they're all off different colours. When you set these up, they come with new bushes, put on either end of the shock. They are pretty self-explanatory, but the amount of cars I've taken apart that have been played with before and had the bushes put in the wrong way around would say otherwise. So, I'll walk through it. These come with new bushes, new washers. Now, the GQ, where your shock goes through the body, already has a plate there. It's already got a plate with a shoulder on it, same as these washers do. You want that shoulder to face towards the bush. So, like so. Not like that. You want the shoulder towards the bush so that it sort of captures it. Run that one on there like so. The shoulder on the bush goes through the mount on either the diff or the chassis to centralise this so that as that wants to move, as the shock flexes, it's not metal on metal. So that's not touching the chassis or the diff mounts, but rather the shoulder on the bush is. Some of these will have a taper like that, or some will have a shoulder, a square shoulder. Just depends what brand you're running. One runs on there. Then you'll run your chassis or your diff mount, depending on which end of your shock is. So that'll obviously run there. And then you're out a bush and a nut. Simple as that. Exhibit A of the washer bang on the wrong way would be that. Which I didn't do. I don't know who did that. I'm guessing it's had Panhard bushes done at some point. Press this a bit to get it in. Also noting to reuse the spring insulator. If your car has had a hard life, that'll probably be missing or in many pieces. James's ute, when I took the rear springs out of it, it was sitting like that in the middle of the springs, which in case you're wondering is not where it goes.
So if you didn't have a bush at home,
Yep.
essentially you'd be using a spring clamp to clamp
Yeah, so
the thing.
you can, well, it depends if you're doing radius arm bushes. See, there's probably going to be a lot of people going, oh, you don't have to do radius arm bushes. You don't. You also don't need shoes to run in. You don't need it with a 2-inch lift. You can put springs and shocks in, you can drive your car down the road, but you'll find the steering is bad. If you bought your car with a 2-inch lift, and it has 2-inch lifted shocks, and it doesn't have caster correction bushes or drop boxes or correction arms, you probably won't know how bad it is until you drive one that has had it corrected. And a lot of people don't realise how bad their car's driving before it's fixed. If you didn't have to do correction bushes, or you didn't want to take the radius arms out, this would be relatively easy. You can jack the car by the diff, support the chassis on stands, drop the weight off the diff, pull the shocks out, drop the diff as far as you can, pull the wheels off if it helps, drop the diff down as far as you can, and you may need to use spring compressors. I did with James's ute to get the rears in as we stretch the brake lines. And if you have a long range tank like this does on the rear, you'll find that the upper trailing arm will hit the top of the tank and limit once you got the shocks off, and it'll limit how far you can actually drop the diff. So you'll probably have to use spring compressors there either way. So it can be done at home. I'm not saying it can't. It's a lot easier to try and support the diff in this way when you're off the ground. Like I said, if you were just changing springs, it'd be pretty easy, but pulling the radius arms out can be done. It's just not that easy. One of the major reasons why I wanted to do this on a hoist is for taking the radius arms out more so than the springs. And also when we go to put it in, we'll have to roll the diff, as James was saying earlier, to get the bolts to line up because of the correction bushes. So being on a hoist will help with that a lot.
Did you pump your shocks up before you put them in?
Sure did. Hey? And I even mentioned it in the video.
Oh, well, there
I said,
you go.
You don't have to do this, but you should.
Oh.
And I'm right, aren't I?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not that you don't have to, it's you definitely should.
Yeah.
Because they will not prime themselves in the car.
Yeah. How many people don't do that? Probably people watching this right now going, I didn't know that.
That's why my
I didn't know
GQ,
until-
that's why my GQ rides like shit.
Yeah, I didn't know until someone told me. That's a good name for biography. As soon as I had to replace bushes anyway on the radius arms, well, I didn't have to, but I had them out, so I thought, why not? I've gone, Nathan recommended these, which are an offset bush to push the diff forward. Isn't such an issue when you're running 33s and only a 2-inch lift, but the higher you go, or the bigger wheel you want to run, the more of an issue it is. So not that I have any intention of putting 35s on it yet, but if you were to do it, you'd gain more clearance from the mud flap, that sort of thing. So obviously as the radius arm's coming down, like we spoke about before, you're also bringing the wheel back, so it's to the rear of the centre of the guard. So that gives you an additional roughly 10 mil. Get it everywhere. Lube it up.
So what was the struggle with that, Dan? Getting
Well, the issue is that that's an offset bush, as we talked about, but also there's an offset bush in the back here now. So we're spacing the diff forward as well as changing the angle. So it's going to be hard to try and line up. This is the sort of the main part that I thought when we talked about it, why I'd come and see games for it, because it's more so the ability to get these things to line up when you're not on a hoist, you don't have the proper jacks, and it makes it a lot harder to do. Look at that. Look at that.
Well, that's not normal, but
No.
that's good.
That one. Teamwork makes the dream work. Maybe because of the offset rear bushes, we already had to push the diff forward to make it fit. Because everyone I've
Never
spoken to
fit the
said that's a
offset
pain to get those to line up.
It is.
Yeah. You've either got to roll it by, like you said, lowering a hoist down, or if you're not on a hoist, people say you can try and ratchet strap it and roll it that way. Cool. Yeah. Click. You all saw it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, boy.
That's getting me excited, that is. Because he's going to go down a fair way. Now I wish I put 6-inch springs in it. And it'd sit that high all the time.
I don't reckon it's going to sag at all.
Alright. Cool. Oh, that looks baller. I love the red with the shiny rims.
We're going to go full driving this weekend.
Oh no. Yeah.
Can we just leave this shock in?
So what's the predicament, Dad?
Well,
Everything.
everything's in the way of everything else.
Right.
Firstly, it's a wagon, so there's a body in the way. And secondly, when they did the dual fuel conversion, they ran the fuel hose past the shock mount. Now you've got to pull the fuel hose out to get the shock bolt out. It's not so hard, James. You just got to unbolt this panel and it'll... Okay. Ah, it's good, strong. So the issue was, because you probably couldn't see it up in there, this fuel supply hose runs to the filler neck, where it would have originally had the rear tank here. It's now using the belly tank as the primary and only tank for petrol, and it was run past the shock tower, so I couldn't get the shock off the pin because the hose was in the way. So that's now out of the way. Okay, is everyone prepared with riot shields, black jackets and other assorted string pressing tools?
You're insane. You are mental. You are damn man. It's aiming right at your head.
See, fellas? Nothing to be concerned about. Yeah, much heavier. Lean on that. No, lean on that. Fair bit. Oh, yes. Well, put it so the writing's the right way up. That always works for me.
You got OCD?
Yes.
Put it in that way then.
No. I will jack the car up and take the spring out just so the writing can run around. Oh, here we go. Shot. Don't look at me in the eyes while you do it, for God's sake. Bloody hell. A whole lot of the space in here. Take that off and I'll see how much room there was with the other ones. Alright, so up until now the lift has been going really well. The front end was a lot easier than I thought it'd be. The rear end's proving to be slightly difficult due to modifications to suit the gas. So why am I holding the old shock? Well, we put the new shocks in. That side does fit. This side rubs against the exhaust, which being that it's a plastic shock cover is probably less than ideal, and it wouldn't last very long there. So I'm going to put the old shocks back in temporarily. They are already a 2-inch lifted shock. It had 2-inch lifted shocks with standard springs. I've just checked those against the ones that are supplied in the kit. They are the same length, so that's all good. I'm going to put these back in for now and sort out getting something done with the exhaust. So I'll throw these in for now. We'll get this thing on the ground and see how it sits. And even it's only got like 5mm to the exhaust there.
That's close.
So we cut this here. and that's all.
Yeah.
That's the entirety of the plan. Cut that there.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But like, it won't matter. I can drive around on these anyway because they're the right ride height.
Yeah.
They're just old, worn-out shocks. These are 33 by 12 and a halves. Factory on these are 31 by 10 and a half, so I've gone up 2 inches in height and 2 inches wider. These are the same size as what James runs on his black Patrol Ute, so I figured, seeing some of the tracks that it walked up, I may as well put these on. You've got the extra width in the wheel arches, so why not? A little bit of extra resistance, but worth it. And yeah, they're on 15-inch alloy rims. That is tight. There's like, Nathan said he'll use the thinner wheel weights because they don't have much clearance from the calipers.
Oh, he's not wrong.
He was not wrong. Come on, no droop.
Moment of truth.
It's wide open.
That's still pretty right.
Was that weight off it? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That is so good. Oh, yeah. I'm happy. Yeah, okay. Now I'm happy. That's mad. Oh, yes. Okay, that is mad. Yeah, snorkel's next. Well, does anyone have a red guard that's already got a hole cut in it? Because I can't bring myself to take a whole sort of the guard. Oh, that's sick. Okay. That is so tight. That is so good. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. That's an understatement. I'm happy. Oh, yes. I thought he hadn't come down all the way. I was like, no.
Thought he was messing with you.
He's messing with me again. That's all the way down.
That's mint.
Those rims are so good.
Yeah. Look at all the work room under there now, Dan.
Oh, no. That's the whole reason I wanted to lift it. Just more space to work, you know? It's not for in the bush. It's for in the shed. It's more room. Yes. Oh, that is proper.
Now you need the side steps.
We're gonna go park on top of a stump. We'll go to a shopping centre car park, and even though there's 20 free spaces, we'll park on the shrub next to the car park. Actually hasn't lost any acceleration, which is good.
Yeah. Dan's getting used to being able to look down on people now.
I like it. That's just tweaking it.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's the test drive over. I am super happy with how everything performed. I've still got to put the new shocks in the back, so they're running the originals as I couldn't fit the new shock body with the exhaust. So I'm going to go have a look at that now and see how I can modify the exhaust to clear both the gas tank and the shock tower. But apart from that, I'm super happy with how it drives, super happy with how it looks. The rims look mad. They are 15-inch -19 offset, which means that the center of the rim is 19mm in, bringing the outer of the rim 19mm out. So I've got 19mm there plus another inch in tyre width. That's brought out the edge of the guard, which I'm super happy with. So yeah, thanks again to James for letting us use the workshop. Super helpful as always. Yeah, I'm keen to see how it performs. Surely not. Oh, come on. No, I don't know, James. I don't know. Bonnet height. Alright guys, that's the lift in the GQ, as you can probably tell. It's been a few days now, I've been driving it. I just wanted to do a quick recap on how it's been. So These springs are a little bit firmer than the factory ones, but in saying that, the factory ones were old and sagged and probably a lot softer than they were from new. It was a bit of a boat, so it definitely drives a lot better on the road now. I'm yet to take it off-road and see how it actually handles, so I'm keen for that. There's a few things I wanted to cover on what we've just done. So I'll start from the top. The Panhard Rod. If you're doing a 2-inch lift, you can get away with running a factory Panhard Rod should you run an adjustable one. It's up to you how much money you want to spend. So I've just gone with springs, shocks and radius arm bushes. For now, I'm gonna just wait and see if a Panhard Rod comes up. I'll grab it, an adjustable one, just to bring that steering wheel back to center. The other thing is sway bar links. So the sway bar links, if you're imagining here's your sway bar, there's your angle. As you lift the car, the sway bar at a resting will sit at a higher angle, so therefore when you flex it out, you're twisting it up further, and you can run out of twisting that or of length. So that's something to look at, whether you want to put extended sway bar links in, which again is something I might do in the future. Just gonna keep an eye on that for now. A lot of people just don't run a front sway bar. I want to, because I want it to handle like a car, not a ship on the road. So that's good. The wheels and tyres, because I know people are going to ask. So these are Windforce CatchFors A T2s in 33 by 12.5. I wanted to run a nice fat tyre, get as much traction as I could, and if you got a Patrol and you got clearance to run big tyres, why would you not? Patrick's been running Windforce tyres on the Pajero that are now in his 80 series for over a year, and they seem to hold up really well, so I thought, yeah, let's throw them on this. Nathan at Treadworks threw them on a set of ProComp 8x15 inch alloy rims, so they are nice and light. Actually weighed the factory, the 31 by 10.5 on a factory steel wheel versus this 33 by 12.5 on a alloy rim. It's actually lighter, which isn't going to make a massive difference to the cars that are on the wheels that are on the car, but I was more worried about the spare trying to break the rear door in half. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. We're going to get the exhaust sorted this Saturday, so the guys at Exhaust Fix in Lilydale are going to run that around a different way and shield it from the gas tank, so it'll clear the shock and the gas tanks. That'll be good, and then we can fit them bigger rear shocks. And I think that was most of the things I wanted to cover. Things to watch when you're lifting your car, other than the basics: Panhard Rod, sway bar links, diff breathers, brake lines, and your bushes. You want to make sure that you're obviously bolting everything up when it's at resting height on the ground with weight on the suspension, so that everything is at the height where it's going to rest and doesn't want to rotate the center out of a bush or anything like that. So that's it on the lift. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm keen to get this thing out in the bush and see how it handles. And yeah, stay tuned, because we've got a hell of a lot more mods coming up with this baby.